Hi, I'm Greg Dell with Dell Disability Lawyers, here with attorney Rachel Alters, and the disability benefit tip that we're going to talk about is why don't disability insurance companies want you to have a long-term disability lawyer representing you? And when I say you, I'm talking about the claimants. And so, Rachel, we were talking about this a little bit before we went, on tape, but what's your immediate reaction as to why these companies don't want someone to know that there's lawyers like us who help claimants at every step of their disability claim?
Well, the companies know that if you hire a lawyer, then you're going to have an advantage on them. You're going to have the leg up. So they prefer that you don't hire an attorney. Oftentimes, I've been aware of situations where insurance companies literally will tell the claimant, do not hire a lawyer until you get into the litigation process, because they don't want you to be prepared. They want you to be ill-prepared for the claim. They know that if you have a lawyer, then you're likely to get the claim approved and you're likely to stay on claim because they're not going to mess with us. They know that we know what we're doing, where a claimant doesn't know. They don't know what the rights are under the policy. They don't know what the rights are if it's an ERISA claim. They don't know the policies and the procedures they have to follow when they file these claims, and that's what the insurance companies are banking on. Don't hire a lawyer, and at the end of the day, they're going to win. They won't have to pay you.
Okay, the first thing that you said is about getting a lawyer once you file a lawsuit. But a lot of people have this conception that they have to wait until they get denied to get a lawyer. But how is it that a claimant can be helped early on where they don't have to wait to get a lawyer? They don't have to wait to be denied. And why is it so advantageous to have a lawyer early on? And talk about what stages are best to get a lawyer involved.
Sure. I always tell the clients that call me, I say, the best time to hire me is in the beginning when you're filing the claim, because that's when we can make sure that everything is done properly, because once something is submitted, you can't take it back. And we know, because we've been doing these claims for years, and we know what to look for. We know what the insurance companies look for when they're going to approve a claim, what they look for when they're going to deny a claim, and we know all the red flags. So we know when we're filling out the applications, the claim forms, when the doctors are filling out the forms, if we review all of that before they get submitted, the chance that they're going to be approved is much greater. And then if you miss that opportunity to hire us at that point, we can be hired during the claims process in general, because we can manage the claim to help ensure the claimant stays on claim, because the insurance carriers may approve you, but they're looking along the way for every reason to deny you. So if they can find one medical record that says you've improved, or one doctor that is not willing to call them back, they're going to find a reason to deny the claim. When we're involved, it's less likely that they're going to mess with the claim in that way.
Right, and taking it a step even further, how many times do you hear from a claimant that they get denied, and then the disability insurance company says, oh, you don't need a lawyer, just send us a quick letter.
Right. Like a one-liner, and then they say, oh, denied, and then they end up in litigation, and the judge says, well, nothing was submitted in support of the claimant's case, so I'm going to rule in favor of the insurance company. And the claimants look and go, well, what do you mean? They never told me to submit anything else other than just a quick letter, as saying why I disagreed with their appeal, with their denial letter, and then there's nothing that can be done after that.
So backing up a step, what I always tell clients or potential clients who call us, and we provide these helpful videos where we give tips, is that you have to look at your disability insurance claim as if you're writing a script for a movie. And you have to plan ahead. And you have to always think that at the end of the day, when your claim gets on the desk of the claims person who's reviewing your claim, that they're now looking back at your script.
Right.
Because you can't recreate time, and they're not going to, most of the time, they're not even going to look at you. So when they're reviewing the records, they're always going back in time, and they're looking at the medical records, primarily the medical records and all the other documentation that you've sent them, or a phone interview that you've had, or an exam if they had you examined. And that can't be recreated. And what that means is that it's so important how much detail goes into those past medical records, as opposed to fast forward and now you call and say, hey, I've been denied, and you say, okay, well, I need to see your medical records, I need to get your claim file, I need to look at what went on.
Right.
But that's where, if you had a lawyer, everything is going to be pretty much dialed in, because you're going to receive advice along the way as to here's what you need to tell your doctor, here's what your doctor needs to write, here's how to complete your claim form, here's how to complete the attending physician statement, here's representation during an interview. Here's representation during if they want to examine you. So all of these things go on, and at the end of the day, it can only benefit you. But also talk about why you as a long-term disability lawyer have knowledge that a claimant just doesn't have and could never have unless they've been in this business.
Right, because we see every aspect of a claim. So we see the claim from the get-go, we see the claim from the denial portion, we see, we litigate these claims, we go to trial. So we know at every stage of the game what the insurance company's looking for, what a judge is going to look for down the road.
Right.
So we know, like, even if we're just in the application stage, I'm already thinking, okay, if this does end up in court, what is a judge going to look for? What am I going to need to prove to win this case, even though it may never end up there?
Right.
So we just have that because it's ingrained in us, because this is what we do for a living, and we hundreds and hundreds of cases that we represent from all different aspects of the case. So this is why it's great to hire us, because we know what the insurance company is thinking even before they're thinking it.
Okay. Sometimes, and I think it's a great question when people call us and say this, and they go, yeah, I'm applying or I'm handling my claim, and it's a lot of money for me. It's thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars over my life. Is this going to look like I'm scared, I'm not confident in my claim, or I'm hiding something?
Right.
How is it often viewed by most disability insurance companies when they know that you have a lawyer representing them?
Right, they're usually very happy. They're usually very pleased to know that we're, at least with our law firm, that we're on the case, because they know we're knowledgeable, and they know that we get things done quickly. And when they request information, a lot of times clients aren't sure how to fill forms out, or they're just too sick to get things done in a timely fashion. And when it's in our hands, the turnover is really quick. We get them all the information that they need, and we have a lot of knowledge, and we do have good working relationships with all the insurance carriers. So they know our law firm, they know that we're very experienced in what we do, and they do enjoy working with us, is what I've been told
Right.
over the years.
So, when you handle thousands and thousands of claims like we have, and I believe our reputation is not, we're going to fight and do everything we can for our client, but we're not here to give you a hard time. We're here to make you do the job right, but we're all professionals, and we're going to do it in an amicable manner and work together to get you the information. Whereas a lot of claimants are skeptical of the insurance companies, as they should be, and they're fearful, and they don't know what to say or not say.
Right.
But when you have the lawyer, then the claimant has a voice. Now, title of this video is, why don't disability insurance companies want you to have a lawyer, yet we're saying how they don't mind? Yes, once you get the lawyer, they don't mind. But the disability insurance companies don't care about you. They don't want you to have an advantage. Otherwise, they'd be telling everyone, hey, you know what? This is a lot to handle, all of these claim forms, attending physician statements. How do you understand your 40-page disability policy? What can you do or not do? They don't care. They're not going to say, go get a lawyer, they'll explain it to you. They're hoping that the person screws up or does something wrong, or the insurance company can find a reason to not pay them. So you have to reconcile those two things to say, understand that once you do get a lawyer, it's going to be a much smoother process, but the insurance company doesn't want you, to have that advantage.
Of course, and it also takes a lot of the pressure off of the claimant. Like most of my claimants are very ill or in chronic pain, and it's very hard for them to deal with all of the stress of speaking to the insurance carriers all the time on the phone and filling out forms. And they've all shared with me that once I'm involved, it takes a lot of the stress and anxiety, which actually makes them sicker.
And I want people to understand a little bit of the internal mechanisms and structure of the disability insurance companies, and how we often find that the person who's handling the claim, explain who that is and what their real knowledge is, and how you view the most of the, especially in the group big disability companies, the claims examiners. Like, what do they really know? What's their decision power? Like, who are you communicating with?
Right, well, usually it's a claims adjuster. Sometimes there's a senior claims adjuster. It just depends on what their title is. You can usually see it on the denial letter or any kind of correspondence that comes in. And they're not attorneys. They're just people that are trained to review records. And technically, they don't really review the records. They usually take a pile of records and send it to the peer review doctor. They wait for a peer review doctor to review it. Then that doctor gives an opinion, and then they just basically render that opinion. Sometimes they have power to make decisions, but most of the time they don't. They're relying on these doctors that are hired.
Do you find that these claims examiners have any medical degrees or medical backgrounds?
No, they do not. I've not run across one.
Okay, so how does that When you get a denial letter, or you're dealing with a claims adjuster, who's making the decision from the disability insurance company to approve or deny benefits?
Well, it's the claim adjuster, usually, but it's after they get an opinion from some doctor that they hire.
So how is the claims adjuster, who we agree 99% of the time has no medical training or background? They maybe have a college degree. Some of them do, some of them don't even need to have that. There's
Right,
no
it's not
requirement
required.
to do that. You don't even need a license to be a claims examiner.
Right.
So the claims examiner is basically an organizer of paper. You know, I get to gather all the medical records and then send them to a nurse or send them to a doctor, and then I'll get an opinion from a doctor, but I also have opinions from 3 of the claimant's treating doctors. Now the claims examiner has to sit down with the opinion from their doctor, and assuming it's a disagreeing opinion
Usually.
from the treating doctor,
Right.
how does that person have the qualifications at that point in time to make a decision?
Well, they don't, and they normally just ignore what the treating doctors are saying, even though they have valid opinions and been treating this claimant over the 15 or 20 years, versus somebody who just reviewed some papers and said, oh, we think they're fine. They don't. They're not qualified, and it's just done based on the fact that they want to deny claims. This is what they do, and the more claims they deny, the more money the insurance company holds on to.
And a lot of times when you're involved with the claim and having this dialogue with them, do you have an ability to at least say, hey, look, if you're going to get a medical review or something, can you at least send it to us so that we can help reconcile it for you and get the treating doctors to respond to that?
Oh yeah. So when they're in the middle of reviewing a claim and they do get an opinion, we do ask for them send the opinions over to us. We will have the doctors review and they can respond to that, and that is also during the appeal process as well.
Right.
You know, they'll send the peer review report to us and we'll have the treating doctors look at it and refute it, because usually they're saying whatever the treating doctors are opining is incorrect. So the doctors are usually upset about that.
Yeah.
So it's usually not hard to get them to refute it.
Also, the backdoor technique that we call when the disability insurance company will just call the doctor.
Oh yeah.
Like they'll have a doctor or a nurse call and say, hey, does your person have any restrictions and limitations? And the doctor will be like, no.
Right.
Because what does restriction and limitations mean? It means, can they walk, can they talk, can they dress themselves, bathe themselves, can they go to the store? Yeah, they can do all of that stuff. They walked into my medical office, they can do that. But they never ask, can this claimant return to work in whatever capacity and commit to an employer 40 hours a week, 8 hours a day?
Right.
They never ask that question.
Right.
But when you're on the claim, we always tell the companies, you have no permission to talk to the doctors. Anything you want should come through our office.
Right.
And so the disability company, again, when they know you have a lawyer, they basically know, hey, look, anything that's going to go on has to go through Rachel Alters. And this cuts out this nonsense that can happen, which is more, we see 50% of the time a denial because they backdoored the client and they went right to the doctor. And the doctor didn't have a clue what was going on.
Never do.
So that's one example of a situation where, you know, having the lawyer, it makes the disability insurance company claims examiner know that everything they're doing is being scrutinized and watched, and that they can't play games with the claimant. And every claimant, I've never met a claimant who basically feels like, no, I don't get nervous when they call me, or I don't think that they're up to something. You're absolutely right. Their motive is to look for a reason to deny you. They're not calling to check on you to see how you're doing.
No.
So,
No, it keeps them accountable when we're involved.
I mean, I love that aspect of our job, that we get to help people, help them financially in the sense of making sure they're being paid and making a large company honor their obligation. That's what we do. We enforce the terms of the contract, and that's what these are. So if you're someone out there, no matter what's going on with your claim, whether you're looking to apply or need help managing your claim or you've been denied, feel free to contact Rachel, myself, any of our disability lawyers. No matter where you live in the country, we always provide you with a free, immediate phone consultation, and we look forward to answering any of your questions. Hi, I'm Gregory Dell, the managing attorney of Dell Disability Lawyers, and I hope you find the video you just watched helpful. We put these videos out all of the time, and we'd love if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel. Beyond our videos on our YouTube channel, we also have lots of information available on our website at diattorney.com, and we encourage you to come to our website. The goal is that we want you to be educated about the disability insurance process. And when you get to our website, you'll see that we have information all about your specific disability insurance company, your occupation, and your medical condition. And we've designed our website such that you can easily search our website to find things that you may specifically be looking for. Now, at our website, we have thousands and thousands of pages of information, hundreds of videos that you can search, Plus, we're building a section of reviews of all the disability insurance companies, and we have the Ask Our Lawyer section where you can go ahead and ask us any questions that you may have. Now, we realize that you may not need us right now, but you may need us in the future to help you with your disability claim, and we think one of the best ways to keep in touch is by clicking the button below and subscribing to our channel. And most importantly, again, no matter where you live in the country, we're always available. Just go ahead and give us a call. We're happy to discuss your claim and let you know immediately if we can help you.